I followed this game from the first announcement, and I wanted to write an account of its rocky development process and the community reactions. Considering that today is the 1-year anniversary of Life by You's cancellation, I figured it's about time I posted this. So, gather round, gamers, and heed my tale of overambition, poor marketing, mismanaged expectations, PS2 quality graphics, and nerd infighting over use of the term asset flip. Battle lines were drawn, hills were perished upon, all for a game that, spoiler alert, no one ever got to play. So, let's get into this saga. Part 0. The Players. Life simulation games are a subgenre of simulation video games in which the player lives or controls one or more virtual characters. Your character may be humanoid, an animal, an alien, or anything else the devs dream up. But we're here to discuss human-centric life sims today, starting with The Sims. Originally released in 2000 by the game studio Maxis, The Sims came to dominate and define human life sims. The Sims games revolve around creating your own characters, Sims, and managing their daily lives as you see fit. You can build and decorate your Sims' house, get them a job and level up their career, make friends and build romantic relationships, raise a family, or just instigate drama by implying your neighbor's mother is a llama. Think of it as a virtual dollhouse for grown-ups. Various installments of The Sims introduced key concepts to players, Simmers, over the years, such as Sims aging through life stages from infant to elder, Sims having unique personality traits, and Sims having their own wants, needs, and lifetime aspirations. The Sims franchise is also known for bringing a sense of wackiness and cartoonish whimsy into the domestic life of your Sims. You can build your Sim family a quaint blue suburban home, but also have a rocket ship in the backyard for adventures to an alien planet. The current installment, The Sims 4, was released in 2014. As of 2025, The Sims 4 still receives regular updates and new paid downloadable content, or DLC. In fact, it's rapidly approaching its 100th piece of DLC. However, The Sims 4 has been contentious among dedicated Simmers since its release. The game's publisher, Electronic Arts, or EA, is infamous in the gaming community for cutting corners. The Sims 4 launched with several features missing from previous games. The toddler life stage, cars, basements, pools, burglars, firefighters, ghosts, and other key elements were nowhere to be found. While many of these features were later patched in, some features, like cars, remain AWOL. The Sims 4 also has more limited customization than some of its predecessors. For instance, The Sims 3 has a feature called Create a Style, which gave players access to a color wheel for hairstyles, clothing, furniture, and other cosmetic elements. But in The Sims 4, you can only choose from set color swatches. If a dresser and a bed don't have matching wood tones, you're out of luck. Additionally, The Sims 3 featured an open world, meaning your character could visit any location in town without loading screens. Meanwhile, The Sims 4 only loads one lot at a time. So, if you want your Sim to hang out with their next door neighbor, you can't just knock on the door and walk inside. Instead, you have to wait behind a loading screen to travel next door. While these downgrades require less computing power and made The Sims 4 more accessible to people with lower-end PCs, more on this later, it left many Simmers wanting more. Plus, I don't even have time to get into the other countless controversies like constant bugs and glitches, some DLC releasing in a near unplayable state, and the game adding a giant seizure-inducing flashing shopping cart button to the UI that couldn't be disabled during play. All this to say, while Simmers loved the domestic wackiness of The Sims, they yearned for freedom from EA's greed and corner cutting, which would where a would-be competitor stepped up to the plate. Part 1. A Fresh Start. On March 21st, 2023, Paradox Interactive released the announcement trailer for their upcoming moddable life sim, Life by You. The trailer revealed several key features familiar to Simmers like character customization, building tools, item collecting, gardening, and a relationship system. What's more, Life by You teased elements that had Simmers salivating, including a completely open world, transportation including cars, buses, and skateboards, and the ever-coveted color wheel. Life by You also hinted at new innovations to the life sim genre, such as a dialogue system where you could see your character's conversations. Sims speak a gibberish language. What's more, Paradox previously published the smash hit city simulator City Skylines, which effectively stole the crown from EA's increasingly disappointing SimCity installments. In other words, they had a history of giving the gaming community what they wanted when EA failed to deliver. There's another tasty tidbit to mention here. The game was produced by a brand new sub-studio, Paradox Tectonic, led by Rod Humble, a developer who previously worked on The Sims 2 and The Sims 3. If anyone knew what Simmers wanted in a life sim, surely it was him. So, with Paradox and a former Sims dev at the helm, many Simmers took these signs for green flags. Life by You could be the Sims killer that everyone craved. Even better, the game was coming very soon with early access just a few months away in September 2023. Surely nothing would happen to disrupt this best laid plan, right? Part 2. A budding community. An official Life by You subreddit soon cropped up, and Paradox Tectonic's Discord server flooded with excited new members. Someone even made a fandom wiki. Over the coming months, interviews with Rod Humble and other game developers revealed more details about Life by You, including their plans to heavily emphasize customization and add modding tools directly to the game. Modding, or added fan-created content in the form of new gameplay or cosmetic custom content, is popular in the Sims community. According to these early interviews, you would be able to create your own careers, dialogue trees, and even import your own 3D models for custom furniture, clothing, hairstyles, and more. All this sounded like a delicious dream life sim for many players. However, as more screenshots appeared online, something began to bug some users: the characters. While character creation is only one aspect of a life sim, it's a pretty important one for many simmers. After all, these are your virtual dolls. But, well, let's just say that Life by You's character made weird Barbie look like a fashion icon. The characters sported basic proportion issues. Most notably, their arms and hands were too short. In a traditional human proportion guide, the wrist aligns with the pubic bone while the hands end mid-thigh. But with Life by You humans, the wrist was closer to the hip bone while the hands roughly aligned with the pubic bone. Beyond their shrimpy T-Rex arms, many characters also featured other glaring issues like misaligned and too narrow shoulders, a hunched posture, and balled-up crab claw-esque hands. Plus, the overall graphics could have used some more refinement. The textures looked waxy, the lighting was harsh, and the purple UI felt dated. In response, gamers made edits addressing the proportion issues and suggesting other changes they wanted to see in the characters, such as softer lighting and more realistic textures. To their credit, the devs seemed to take this in stride and promised that the character models would continue to see improvement throughout development. After all, there was plenty of time to tweak these issues before the early access release date of September 2023, right? Part 3. Cracks in the facade. As part of their pre-early access marketing campaign, the Life by You team posted a promotional video every Friday on their official YouTube channel. The weekly videos included clips of gameplay, character creation, building mode, and customization and modding tools. While many of these videos fostered excited discussion and speculation, one video posted on June 30th, 2023 rang alarm bells for many players. The now privated video titled, "Let's Have a Quick Conversation," showed off the game's unique dialogue system. Although, very few comments on the video focused on the dialogue itself. Instead, many people were distracted by the rough state of the game. The characters sported stilted expressions, robotic animations, a weird purplish skin tone, and an overall low-res look. Plus, the background looked overly textured, the lighting was still overexposed, and the emoji effects during dialogue felt oddly like a mobile game. Put delicately, it looked like ass. Even for early access, this look wasn't what many players expected from a game backed by a prominent publisher in 2024. Instead, it drew comparisons to PlayStation 2 games and Second Life, a popular mid-2000s online game that Rod Humble also worked on. Another video showing off the character creation tools revealed that it was actually possible to change the proportion of the arms, one of the most common complaints, but you had to max out the slider, and the arms still remained a little too short. Plus, this tweak didn't address the shoulder issues, crab hands, and hunching. Curiously, older concept art for Life by You didn't have these character model issues. In fact, older character art showcased during a Life by You art livestream looked pretty good. The humans spotted correct proportions and a more stylized look. Whoever was behind the initial concept art obviously knew what they were doing. So, the community wondered, how did the current models end up with so many basic proportion issues? And why didn't the team itself recognize these fundamental flaws, especially when the game itself had been in development for 5 years at this point? We'll get a possible answer for this later on, but at this point, early access was only 2 short months away. so the issues would be addressed soon, right? Right? Part 4. The first delay. On July 26, 2023, Life by You posted a video hosted by producer Rod Humble announcing that early access would actually be moved from September 2023 to March 5th, 2024. According to Humble, the team wanted to address the feedback they'd received and integrate it into the game before early access. This included updates to the graphics, character models, UI, and modding tools. While many players were, understandably, disappointed at the renewed wait, they were also encouraged that the devs really were listening to the community's feedback. Surely, after these extra 4 months, the game would reach new heights and become the epic sim killer it was always meant to be, right? 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 Part 5. A second delay has hit the tower. Over the coming months, the devs chugged along and posted weekly videos showing off Life by You's gameplay and features, including Let's Plays with Humble. A TikTok posted on December 12, 2023 showed off a series of randomly generated characters, many of which looked, frankly, scary. Beyond inducing cringe, it also sparked some pretty hilarious meme roasts. Some users speculated that the characters may have actually been from an older build of the game, given that the other recent previews looked better than the models showcased in the TikTok. But why would the devs use outdated models if they were trying to build hype? Were they trying to go viral with rage bait? I repeat, these characters are virtual dolls. Yet, Life by You's humans looked like dollar store baby dolls that have been left to melt in the summer sun, then hastily re-sculpted into something vaguely resembling a human by an alien who'd never actually seen one before. Once again, the Life by You community official account thanked users for their feedback and promised to implement the requested improvements. However, it was difficult to see any changes in the models. Although, to be fair, the lighting and textures did seem to have improved. Some users speculated that many of the fundamental issues with the models actually couldn't be changed after all. The devs have already made assets and animations using these models. If the devs fundamentally altered something crucial, like the arm length and shoulder rigging, it might mean starting over from scratch. Beyond the graphics, other users began to worry about the state of gameplay as showcased in the Let's Plays. These videos mainly consisted of Humble or another developer playing with basic features like crafting, gardening, collecting, and shopping. These are all pretty basic features in the Sims games. But after months of uploads, that was pretty much all they showed off. That led some players to wonder, is that all there is? While the devs mentioned tons of cool features like an elaborate relationship system, complex careers, and in-depth personality traits, these features weren't showcased during preview gameplay. Instead, users were treated to riveting gameplay of working as a cashier and wandering an empty field. However, plenty of videos showed off the game's modding and customization tools, demonstrating just about how any of the planned features could be tweaked via a series of complicated menus. Keep in mind, while some players enjoyed the emphasis on customization, others grew concerned that the devs were so concerned with customization and modding that they had neglected to focus on, well, the actual game. Apparently, the developers believed the game needed more time in the oven too. On February 2nd, 2024, around 1 month before the second early access date, another video from Humble announced that Life by You's early access date had been moved, yet again, this time to June 2nd, 2024. While YouTube comments were understanding and hopeful, Reddit reacted with backlash and frustration. This was the second time early access had been moved out, and some people grew sick of the teasing. Oh well, the community collectively shook its fist, grumbled, and decided to wait and see. Surely the third time would be the charm, right? Part 6. The Abyss. In early March 2024, with early access right around the corner, Paradox Tectonic ramped up its pre-launch marketing. They sent copies of the game out to popular Sims YouTubers and filmed promotional content and tutorials showing off the game for social media. Many Life by You fans grew hyped. After half a year of delays, users would finally be able to judge if the early access gameplay lived up to its expectations. Others worried that it was still too early to unleash the game into the hands of the general public. After all, one Sims YouTuber discussed in a livestream that he'd been asked not to play with certain features like the building tools. And of course, the characters still looked like this. But Paradox Tectonic seemed confident in their project and were fully prepared to launch. Until publisher Paradox Incorporated pulled the plug and delayed the game again on March 20th, 2024, just 3 weeks before early access. It's interesting to note that while previous delays were personally announced by Paradox Tectonic, the game's developers, this announcement came from Paradox Incorporated, the publishing company. That indicated that this delay had come from a higher authority, perhaps from an unsatisfied executive. Even the devs themselves didn't know what would happen next. Life by You lingered in a state of limbo for nearly a month until June 17, 2024, over 1 year past its initial announcement. Paradox officially announced that Life by You had been shelved. With this announcement came the permanent closure of the sub-studio Paradox Tectonic. Its first and only project would never see the light of day. This was a heartbreaking moment for many community members who genuinely believed in Life by You and wanted to see it succeed. And whether you believed in the game or not, no one was happy to see 24 people lose their jobs. Some angry fans blamed the cancellation on those who had complained and criticized the game's previews. To me, that's a bit like a restaurant promoting a bacon cheeseburger but posting pictures on social media of raw hamburger meat. Except instead of blaming the chefs, who ought to know that you can't serve paying customers raw meat, you blame the customers for pointing out that the food looks undercooked. Part 7. We hereby conduct this post-mortem. As the community sifted through the pieces and pondered the journey, one question emerged. How did it come to this? What exactly went so terribly wrong with Life by You for it to implode before it even launched? Turns out, there's a few potential factors. 1. The failure of other Paradox projects. While Paradox's original City Skylines was a welcome middle finger to EA's SimCity franchise, its successor, City Skylines 2, was a fall from grace. Initial reviews found the game in a lacking bare-bones state riddled with glitches and lacking basic features. While initially released in October 2023, it remains controversial and still has mixed reviews on Steam. With this drama simmering in the background, Paradox Corporate was likely highly vigilant for anything that could further damage their reputation, like a life sim that looks straight out of 2004. 2. It needs how much RAM? Life by You's planned open world and NPCs were an ambitious endeavor to say the least. Not only were there no planned rabbit holes, facade buildings you can't see inside, but the town would also have a full roster of NPCs and families operating autonomously at all times in a completely open world that's always loaded. Needless to say, this required a lot of computing power. While many prospective players expected Life by You to be spec-heavy, the actual suggestions were jaw-dropping. The recommended system requirements included suggestions for an Intel Core i5-10400F or AMD Ryzen 5 5600 processor and a whopping 32 GB of RAM. For reference, those are higher than the recommended specs for graphic-heavy AAA titles like Cyberpunk 2077 and God of War. With so much computing power required just to run the town, the publisher must have wondered, can our target audience even play this? Keep in mind that many simmers are casual gamers who play on regular laptops. And since an open world and fully autonomous NPCs were promised features, reducing or optimizing these system requirements may not have been feasible. 3. Identity crisis. From the beginning, Life by You had a clear identity crisis. You can see that in the naming of its characters. The Sims 4 has Sims, Paralives has Paras, Inzoi has Zois. Life by You had humans. Seriously, that's the official name. While having a cutesy name for the virtual people might not seem like a big deal, it exemplifies a lack of care put into the presentation. Another example, in a behind-the-scenes art livestream, the team's art director made the baffling statement that the team elected not to have an art style. In other words, they were aiming for generic. To quote some random self-help book, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. 4. Developer woes. As previously mentioned, Paradox Tectonic was a brand new sub-studio formed exclusively to develop Life by You. It was also bafflingly small for such an ambitious title. The team consisted of 24 members, most of which had only joined the production team 2 years before the game's public announcement. A mere 6 team members worked on the game for the majority of its development window. Further, while lead developer Rod Humble had previous experience working on a game of this magnitude, some of the devs did not. In fact, some only had experience with mobile or online games, a different beast from an open-world single-player title. Plus, some devs didn't seem to understand the significance of their roles. Remember, the game's art director didn't seem to understand why art direction is important. Another game developer took to LinkedIn with a post-cancellation rant explaining that the team had met internal metrics and he didn't understand the rug pull of cancellation. He genuinely considered the game to be in a releasable state. Willem Deventhal's post reads, "Today, I am devastated to announce that for the second time in 2 years, my game has been cancelled and I've been laid off. And this time, it was a real shit show, y'all. First and foremost, nothing expressed here represents the sentiments of Paradox Interactive or Paradox Tectonic. These are my thoughts and my thoughts alone. I've known for some time that we might be getting shut down. We were actively working on a hyper-moddable life sim called Life by You, an indie answer to the aging IP that is The Sims, but instead focused heavily on UGC. And as far as it goes, we were doing extremely well. I cannot share specific numbers, but I can say that we had an internal metric that we were aiming for that had been approved, and that we exceeded that number by a significant portion. We also got a thumbs up a few weeks before launch. Then, 2 weeks before launch, we were told we wouldn't be launching, and just now that we've lost all our jobs. We were only informed of this via a public announcement. We were not told why. Instead, we spent a month in purgatory and did everything we could to prove to them that we were worth launching, including things like finding potential buyers or suggesting cutting ties and going indie. We heard virtually nothing back. I was warned against writing anything about this experience, that it may hurt my future career or even that legal action could be taken against me. I have chosen to ignore these warnings. To be honest, I have guesses about what happened, and while I can't conjecture, I'm sure you have guesses too. As a business owner, some of them are understandable, but many of them are not. We were a strong team on a strong project ready to launch to a strong audience. Really, I'd like to be much more fire and brimstone about it. I'm pretty pissed, not gonna lie, but I'm trying to stay kind and respectful. So instead I'll say, this industry has become a place in which you can deliver more than expected, have AA money behind you, and still have the rug pulled 2 weeks before launch. At this time, I will not be looking for another full-time job. Instead, I will be uplifting all of you dear people and attempting to make this industry more sustainable for all with the Indie Game Academy and the Indie Revolution. Everything you've seen in me so far is just 25% of my power level. Just wait until I go Super Saiyan. That said, I may be open up to part-time or advertisement work for the right project. Hit me up. Support your fellows, be kind to each other. See you in the revolution. Another dev's parting comments weren't so rosy. He hinted at an internal environment that quashed criticisms from staff, stating that fan feedback changed the game for the better when our voices alone couldn't. So, we have a very small team of inexperienced game devs with little clear guidance, little understanding of optics for outside observers, and resistance to internal criticism. With all that in mind, the apparent state of the game now makes more sense. 5. It's not an asset flip, Mom! Of course, I would be remiss if I neglected to mention the infighting in the Life by You community throughout the early access build-up. Over the course of development, the community split into loosely defined factions: Hope Posters and Negative Nancys. The Hope Posters spread good vibes and positivity. Most genuinely believed in the game, or at least wanted to, and were excited to discuss their planned characters or custom content. If something didn't live up to the expectations in a preview, they would be the first to point out that the game was only in early access. So, it would totally, definitely, 100% for sure be fixed later. Be patient and have faith, guys. The Negative Nancys, on the other hand, saw the writing on the wall with Life by You. They were the first to lament the game's state and point out perceived flaws and shortcomings. The common denominator between both groups? Each held adamant, unbudgeable opinions over a video game they've never played. The Life by You sub-moderators apparently worried that the narrative on Reddit was spinning out of control. So, they implemented a system wherein criticism was only allowed in the game's weekly Frustration Friday mega thread, much to the chagrin of many community members. Side note, the subreddit also had Good Vibes Monday threads, one of which automatically posted the same day the game was cancelled, though the mods later deleted it. In one noteworthy Reddit spat, one user referred to the game as a mundane asset flip. Note, the term asset flip refers to low-quality games produced using pre-made assets. In response, a moderator locked the comment and left a warning against the user for spreading misinformation. According to the mod, referring to the game as an asset flip was just straight up false information and extremely misleading and even potentially damaging to the brand and the team's reputation. Keep in mind, most of the subreddit mods had no affiliation with the game. They had no way of knowing if the game was made using pre-made assets or not. This spat became much juicier when someone later uncovered some key information from the senior producer's portfolio website. Namely, that Life by You was built using pre-made models. The character creation system is built using a system called Unity Multipurpose Avatar, or UMA, a framework that allows devs to incorporate a character creation system within a game. UMA also provides access to free models on the Unity store, which, wouldn't you know it, featured many of the same issues that Life by You characters had: too short arms, claw hands, stooping posture, and shrunken, misaligned shoulders. Someone who also had the UMA base model posted a side-by-side comparison of the default model in Blender versus an early screenshot of Life by You. The user later deleted the image, stating that they didn't want to cause trouble for the game devs. However, screenshots of the side-by-side comparison exist, and the resemblance is tough to ignore. This discovery sparked mixed reactions. Some don't consider this to be a big deal, since plenty of games use pre-made assets to save time or money. Others took offense. Character creation is a crucial component of a life sim game, yet the devs couldn't even pick a pre-made model with proper proportions? This revelation also explains why the characters boast rampant anatomy and proportion issues, and why the finished models differ from the concept art. Someone probably said, you can customize the models anyway, so why put effort into sculpting a base? In my opinion, this decision encapsulates one of the biggest core problems with the game. While many simmers relish customization, not everyone wants to spend hours tweaking settings just to make a game playable. Customization is a fun addition, but the game ought to stand on its own without community modding. It remains to be seen how Life by You's legacy will affect the life sim community going forward, but with more titles announced since Life by You's cancellation, it's helpful to adopt an attitude of healthy skepticism. You can be hopeful for a project's future while still offering constructive criticism or airing concerns. If something seems too good to be true, it likely is. Still, it's a shame that no one ever got to judge Life by You for themselves. In the absence of a full public release, we'll always be left wondering what could have been. Thank you for watching. Well, listening, I guess. And thank you to Sketchbook on Reddit's r/hobbydrama for making this write-up and allowing me to read it out. I've been a fan of The Sims since the first game, and as much as I want a newer, better version of the game on a modern engine, I guess I'll just have to dump another 200 hours into The Sims 1 and 2 again. Well, a man can dream. Anyways, that's about it for me. Bye!